Have you ever felt like you were pushing against the current of life? Striving endlessly yet getting nowhere? You wake up each day with a sense of urgency. Working harder and harder. Believing that if you simply exert enough effort, success will eventually follow. Yet, no matter how much you push, it feels like something's missing. Like you're constantly swimming upstream. The harder you try, the more resistance you encounter. But what if I told you there's another way, a way where success doesn't come from relentless effort, but from the ability to let go? What if the key to achieving your dreams, finding peace, and living a fulfilled life lies in doing less, not more? Welcome to the philosophy of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. In a world where we are conditioned to believe that hard work is the only path to success, Wu Wei offers a radically different approach. It teaches us that life isn't about forcing outcomes, but about aligning with the natural flow of events. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the timeless wisdom of Wu Wei and explore how it can transform your life. Imagine navigating through your daily challenges with grace, ease, and harmony. Picture yourself not struggling against life, but moving with it. How different would your life be if you learned to trust the process and let go of the need to control everything around you? Stay tuned, because the philosophy of Wu Wei is not just a concept, it's a way of life that, when embraced, can unlock a deeper sense of peace, success, and fulfillment. You might just find that the secret to your happiness is simply letting go. Keep watching to learn more. The philosophy of Wu Wei, effortless action and the flow of life. Wu Wei is one of the most profound and often misunderstood concepts in ancient Chinese philosophy. Translated literally, it means non-action, but this is a misleading simplification. To call Wu Wei doing nothing would be to overlook its deeper meaning and powerful impact, rather than advocating for inaction or laziness. Wu Wei promotes the art of effortless action, a state in which we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of life, allowing things to unfold naturally rather than forcing outcomes or imposing our will. At its core, Wu Wei invites us to understand the nature of things as they are, to recognize when it is necessary to act and when it is better to step back and let the universe take its course. Lao Tzu, the great Taoist sage who penned the Tao Te Ching, expounded this philosophy, suggesting that when we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives, everything will still fall into place. The idea here is that the world is governed by forces far beyond our control, and our constant effort to bend these forces to our will often only creates unnecessary friction and resistance. The natural order and the wisdom of Wu Wei. The concept of Wu Wei stems from the belief that nature is already perfect, that life's forces work in harmony with each other. The cycles of nature, from the movement of the seasons to the growth of plants and the flow of rivers, are self-regulating and effortless. The key idea behind Wu Wei is that we, too, should learn to flow with these natural rhythms instead of battling against them. Lao Tzu tells us that by resisting the natural course of events, we generate trouble for ourselves. The more we try to force things, the more we disrupt the inherent harmony of life. This idea can be seen in nature's own example of water. Water is a powerful force, capable of carving valleys and shaping landscapes. But it doesn't need to push or shove to do so. It simply flows, finds the path of least resistance, and carves its own way. The more we resist, the more energy we expend, and the more likely we are to exhaust ourselves. But when we learn to let go, to align with the current of life, we move with much less friction, and things begin to unfold more effortlessly. The paradox of effort. One of the most challenging aspects of Wu Wei is its paradox, doing without doing. In the modern world, especially in Western cultures, We are taught that success comes from relentless effort. That we must push, strive, and hustle in order to achieve our goals. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that if we aren't working hard, we are failing. This belief is reinforced by society's obsession with hard work, where effort is often confused with effectiveness. However, Wu Wei challenges this notion. Lao Tzu tells us that force always leads to unseen troubles. This doesn't mean that effort is never necessary. On the contrary, there are times when hard work and decisive action are required. But it also acknowledges that there are moments when too much effort leads to burnout, frustration, and stress. In these situations, forcing an outcome can be counterproductive. In the philosophy of Wu Wei, less is often more. It's about finding balance and knowing when to push forward and when to step back. The concept of Wu Wei also goes beyond personal effort. It applies to how we interact with others and with the world around us. Often, we try to control or manipulate situations, people, and outcomes to fit our expectations. Yet, in doing so, we often overlook the fact that people, situations, and circumstances have their own natural course. By respecting that course and not forcing outcomes, we open ourselves to deeper, more authentic connections and more organic solutions. Wu Wei in action, examples from life. It's helpful to look at practical examples to see how Wu Wei works in action, particularly in situations where we might typically force outcomes. Consider the example of planting a tree. Imagine you're trying to grow a sapling. You water it, ensure it gets enough sunlight, and protect it from pests. But you can't make it grow faster than nature intends. If you were to try and force the tree to grow by pulling on its branches or pushing it to grow faster, you would harm it. In this case, the best action is to let the tree grow at its own pace. You nurture it, provide the right conditions, and then trust that nature will take its course. The same applies to relationships. Sometimes, when we desire closeness or connection, we try too hard to make things happen. We push for conversations, seek out opportunities to connect, or even manipulate situations to fit our needs. But forcing these connections often creates distance rather than closeness. True relationships are built on trust, patience, and natural flow. When we let go of the need to control and simply allow the relationship to develop organically, it tends to flourish on its own. Another example of Wu Wei can be seen in the world of business and career development. Many people approach their careers with the mindset that they must climb the ladder as quickly as possible, constantly hustling, networking, and pushing for promotions. But sometimes, when we push too hard for success, we exhaust ourselves, burn bridges, and lose sight of our original intentions. By practicing Wu Wei, we shift our focus from forcing success to letting our work speak for itself. We trust in our abilities, do our best, and allow opportunities to present themselves naturally. Often, the greatest successes come when we stop striving for them so desperately and allow them to come in their own time. Letting go of control, the power of surrender. At the heart of Wu Wei lies the concept of surrender. This does not mean giving up on our goals or being passive. Rather, it means surrendering our need for control and trusting the process. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we try to micromanage every outcome, there will always be factors beyond our influence. Accepting this unpredictability and surrendering to it allows us to release anxiety, stress, and the need for perfection. When we surrender to life, we allow ourselves to experience it fully without the constant pressure of control. We trust that things will unfold as they should, And we are at peace with that. This is a deeply liberating concept. When we let go of our attachment to specific outcomes, we free ourselves from unnecessary worry and the burden of forcing things to happen. Surrendering to the flow of life does not mean being passive or inactive. It's about becoming attuned to the natural rhythm of the world. Recognizing when it's time to act and when it's time to wait. This is the heart of Wu Wei, moving with life, not against it. Finding balance, the right moment to act. One of the most powerful aspects of Wu Wei is the recognition of the right moment to act. Lao Tzu teaches that effective action comes not from pushing or striving but from waiting for the right opportunity. This approach is mirrored in many ancient practices, such as martial arts. In Judo, for example, the practitioner doesn't use brute force but waits for the perfect moment when their opponent is off balance, and then uses the least amount of force necessary to win. This principle is not just about physical actions but also applies to all aspects of life, including decision-making, problem-solving, and even emotional responses. This recognition of the right moment requires patience and mindfulness. It means being present, aware of the situation, and trusting that the right opportunities will arise. There is no need to force things to happen prematurely. When the time is right, action will flow naturally, and the results will come effortlessly. Wu Wei and the modern world. In today's fast-paced, achievement-driven society, the concept of Wu Wei may seem counterintuitive. We are taught to be constantly busy, to always strive for more, and to never stop pushing toward success. The pressure to always be achieving can be overwhelming. However, as we face increasing levels of stress and burnout, more and more people are beginning to realize the value of stepping back, reassessing their approach, and allowing life to unfold naturally. The modern world values productivity, but it often ignores the importance of rest, reflection, and the flow of life. Wu Wei encourages us to find a balance between effort and ease. It teaches us that our greatest successes often come not when we are pushing hardest but when we allow ourselves to rest, trust, and go with the flow. By learning to practice Wu Wei, we can find a more sustainable, peaceful way of achieving our goals. Embracing Wu Wei, a path to peace. Embracing Wu Wei is not about rejecting effort, but rather about recognizing the wisdom in knowing when to act and when to step back. It's about being in tune with the natural rhythms of life and learning to move with them, rather than against them. By practicing Wu Wei, we can achieve our goals with greater ease and tranquility, free from the stress of forcing outcomes. When we stop trying to control everything, we open ourselves up to the endless possibilities that life has to offer. We allow ourselves to flow naturally, trusting that everything will unfold as it should. In this way, Wu Wei becomes not just a philosophy but a way of life, a path to peace, fulfillment, and effortless success. A shift in mindset, from effort to ease. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly told that success is directly proportional to effort. From a young age, we're ingrained with the belief that in order to achieve anything worthwhile, we must work harder, push further, and fight against the odds. The narrative is clear: those who hustle, grind, and never give up are the ones who succeed. But what if this mindset is actually leading us to burnout instead of breakthrough? What if the effort we've been conditioned to value so highly isn't always the key to success? The reality is that not all effort is created equal. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that success requires non-stop action, working tirelessly, grinding every day, and pushing yourself to the limit. But in the hustle culture, we often forget one important truth: effort must be intelligent. It's not about being busy for the sake of being busy or working harder without direction. Instead, it's about aligning your actions with the natural flow of circumstances. Recognizing when it's time to act and when it's time to let go. In fact, many of life's outcomes are determined by factors beyond our control. Unexpected events, the actions of others, and the inherent unpredictability of life can all impact our progress. We can't control the weather, the stock market, or even the actions of those around us. When we try to force things that are outside of our control, we set ourselves up for unnecessary frustration and stress. We push against the current of life, only to find that we're not making any real progress. This is where the philosophy of Wu Wei, or effortless action, comes into play. Wu Wei teaches us that peace and success aren't about relentless effort, but about understanding when to act and when to release the need for control. It's about flowing with life, rather than forcing outcomes, and finding harmony within the natural rhythm of the universe. The illusion of constant striving. Our culture is obsessed with effort, with the idea that the more we do, the more we will achieve. Social media constantly bombards us with images of people working long hours, hustling to make their dreams a reality, and never resting until they reach their goals. The hustle is romanticized, and the act of grinding is considered a virtue. However, this drive to always be in motion can sometimes be counterproductive. It can drain our energy, cloud our judgment, and lead to a sense of burnout. We've been taught that in order to be successful, we must push harder, run faster, and never stop moving. But there's a limit to how much effort we can put forth before we start to feel overwhelmed. Effort becomes exhausting when it's not aligned with the natural flow of life. In those moments, we might find ourselves working harder and harder, but achieving less and less. The more we push, the more resistance we encounter, until we're left feeling frustrated, exhausted, and unfulfilled. At some point, we must ask ourselves, is all this effort really bringing us closer to our goals? Or is it simply leading to exhaustion and frustration? When we shift our mindset from focusing on effort to focusing on ease, we begin to see that not everything requires relentless action. Sometimes, the most effective way to move forward is to pause, step back, and let life unfold on its own terms. The power of Wu Wei, effortless action. Wu Wei is a concept that originated from Taoist philosophy, which teaches us to align our actions with the natural flow of the universe. It's the art of doing without forcing. At first glance, this might seem like a passive approach to life. But in reality, Wu Wei is about acting with precision, intelligence, and mindfulness. It's not about being lazy or inactive, but about knowing when to act and when to step back. The central idea behind Wu Wei is to flow with the rhythms of life rather than pushing against them. Life itself is a constantly unfolding process, governed by cycles and patterns that are beyond our control. The more we try to control those cycles, the more we disrupt the natural order of things. But when we align ourselves with the natural flow, we find that things often come to us effortlessly. One of the best ways to understand Wu Wei is by looking at the example of water. Water is one of the most powerful forces on Earth, capable of eroding mountains and shaping landscapes. Yet, it doesn't force its way through obstacles. Water flows naturally, finding the path of least resistance. And in doing so, it shapes the world around it. The same principle applies to life. When we force things, we waste energy, and we often find ourselves stuck in a cycle of resistance. But when we flow with life, we move with grace and ease. Making progress without the struggle. The art of letting go. One of the key principles of Wu Wei is letting go of the need for control. In the modern world, we are often taught that control equals power. We're encouraged to control every aspect of our lives, from our careers to our relationships, in order to achieve success. But the truth is, we can't control everything. And the attempt to do so only creates unnecessary stress and frustration. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on your goals or being passive. It means surrendering the need to micromanage every detail of your life. It's about trusting the process and allowing things to unfold as they should. The more we try to control outcomes, the more we become attached to them. And when things don't go as planned, we become frustrated, upset, and disheartened. But when we let go of the attachment to specific outcomes, we free ourselves from the burden of control and open ourselves up to new possibilities. When we embrace Wu Wei, we learn to trust the natural rhythms of life. We become more attuned to when action is needed and when it's better to step back. This doesn't mean we stop pursuing our goals, it means we pursue them with a sense of ease, knowing that the path will unfold in its own time. Finding balance, knowing when to act and when to wait. Wu Wei is not about inaction. It's about finding the balance between effort and ease. There are times when we must take action. But there are also times when the best course of action is to wait. It's about recognizing the right moments to move forward and knowing when to allow things to unfold naturally. In many aspects of life, we are constantly faced with decisions and opportunities. But sometimes, in our rush to achieve, we jump into things before we're truly ready. We act impulsively, pushing forward without considering the timing or the consequences. But when we practice Wu Wei, we become more attuned to the natural flow of life. We learn to recognize the right moments to act. And we know that by waiting for the perfect timing, we can accomplish our goals with much less effort. For example, think about a musician playing an instrument. When a musician performs, they don't force the notes. They don't try to rush the music or push the sound. Instead, they let the music flow through them, playing each note with intention and grace. This is the essence of Wu Wei, allowing things to unfold naturally, without forcing the outcome. By trusting the process, the musician creates a beautiful and harmonious performance. Similarly, in life, the best things often come when we allow them to flow naturally, without forcing them. Whether it's a career opportunity, a personal relationship, or a creative project, the key is to align with the natural flow of events. Taking action when the time is right and letting go when the moment calls for it. The paradox of effortless success. In our society, we are constantly told that success requires hard work, struggle, and sacrifice. But the paradox of Wu Wei is that sometimes the most successful people are those who understand how to relax, let go, and allow things to unfold naturally. They don't force their way to the top, instead, they flow with life, making smart choices and aligning their actions with the natural flow of circumstances. Success isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. And sometimes, working smarter means knowing when to take a step back and allow things to happen. This doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or being passive, it means trusting that the universe will provide the right opportunities when the time is right. And when those opportunities arise, you'll be ready to act, but without the burden of unnecessary stress or effort. Embracing the flow, living with ease. Living with ease doesn't mean abandoning effort altogether. It means recognizing that there are moments when effort is required, and moments when letting go is the best course of action. It's about finding balance, moving with the rhythms of life, and trusting that things will unfold as they should. When we practice Wu Wei, we stop trying to force things to happen and instead embrace the natural flow of life. By doing so, we open ourselves to a world of possibilities and experiences that we might have missed if we were too focused on control and effort. When we let go of the need to control everything, we free ourselves to live with greater ease, joy, and fulfillment. Life becomes less about striving and more about flowing. And when we allow ourselves to flow with life, we find that our goals come to us effortlessly, without the struggle and frustration of trying to force them into existence. The path to effortless living. The philosophy of Wu Wei is not a call to inaction, it's a call to live with purpose and presence, moving with the flow of life rather than against it. It teaches us that by releasing our attachment to specific outcomes and trusting the process, we can achieve more with less effort. It's a path to peace, fulfillment, and success, one that encourages us to stop fighting against the current. Real-life application, the river metaphor. Imagine standing on the bank of a river, watching the water flow freely across the landscape. The water moves with a quiet, effortless force, carving its way through the earth, winding around obstacles like rocks and boulders without hesitation. It doesn't push. It doesn't rush, it simply flows. It finds the path of least resistance, moving around barriers instead of attempting to overpower them. This is the essence of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. The river, in its fluid motion, teaches us an invaluable lesson about how we can approach life and navigate through its many challenges. We all face obstacles in life, be it in our careers, relationships, personal growth, or health. These challenges can often feel like rocks in our path, stopping us in our tracks, blocking our progress. It's tempting, in these moments, to push harder, to exert more force, to try to push those obstacles out of the way. But in doing so, we often create more problems for ourselves. The harder we push, the more resistance we encounter, and the more stress we experience. It's like trying to swim upstream against a powerful current. You might make some progress, but you'll exhaust yourself, and ultimately, you'll find yourself further from your goal. But when we adopt the mindset of Wu Wei, like the river, we stop trying to force things. Instead, we look for the natural flow. Just as water moves around rocks and boulders, we learn to work with the obstacles in our lives, finding ways to navigate around them rather than fighting them head-on. We trust that there's always a path, even if it's not immediately visible. By embracing the flow of life, we allow ourselves to move forward with grace and ease, making progress without the struggle. The power of effortless action. One of the most profound lessons we can learn from the river is the power of effortless action. The river never tries to push its way through obstacles, instead, it simply flows, finding the path that requires the least resistance. This doesn't mean the river is passive or lazy, on the contrary. It is constantly moving, adapting, and adjusting to its surroundings. The key is that it doesn't force its movement, it simply follows the natural course, allowing life to guide its way. This is the essence of Wu Wei, action without force. In life, we often face moments where we feel compelled to exert all our energy into overcoming obstacles. We think that the more we push, the more likely we are to succeed. We may feel that if we aren't working hard enough, we aren't doing enough. But sometimes, the best course of action is to take a step back, observe the situation, and allow ourselves to flow with it. When we do this, we find that we can navigate challenges with much more ease. Much like how the river winds its way through the landscape. adapting to its environment rather than fighting against it. This is not to say that effort is unnecessary, rather. It's about using effort wisely and knowing when to apply it. Sometimes, the most effective action is not the most forceful. In many cases, the power lies in restraint. In the ability to allow things to unfold naturally rather than forcing them into existence. The river doesn't try to force its way through the land, it simply follows the path that presents itself. And in doing so, it shapes the earth more profoundly than if it were to struggle against the terrain. The landscape of life, a beautiful journey. The river's flow doesn't only teach us how to handle obstacles, it also shows us how to embrace the beauty of the journey. As the river moves, it shapes the landscape around it, carving valleys, creating new paths, and nourishing the land. In the same way, when we follow the natural flow of our lives, we create our own beautiful landscapes. Rather than forcing a specific outcome or path, we allow the journey to unfold naturally, embracing each twist and turn, knowing that each part of the journey is shaping us into the person we are meant to be. When we learn to let go of the need to control every aspect of our lives, we begin to see the beauty that arises when we trust the process. Life is full of unexpected turns, challenges, and opportunities. But when we allow ourselves to flow with it, we create a life that is rich with meaning and fulfillment. The river, in all its twists and turns, doesn't fight against the terrain, it adapts. It embraces. And it continues on its course, carving out its own beautiful path. Similarly, when we stop trying to control everything, we begin to notice the beauty in the unexpected. We discover that some of the most fulfilling moments in life are the ones we didn't plan for. The ones that just happened without force. It is in the moments of surrender, of letting go, that we find our deepest fulfillment. Like the river, we can embrace the flow of life and trust that it will carry us to exactly where we need to be. The paradox of resistance. One of the most important lessons the river teaches us is that resistance only creates more resistance. When the water encounters an obstacle, it doesn't push harder against it, instead, it finds a way around it. The river doesn't fight the rock, it flows around it. In the same way, when we encounter obstacles in life, we often make the mistake of fighting against them. We try to force things to go our way, to control the outcome, to push through. And in doing so, we create more problems for ourselves. Life is unpredictable, and it's impossible to control every aspect of our existence. Yet, we often try to. We think that if we can just force things to go the way we want, we will find peace. But in truth, the more we try to force, the more resistance we encounter. Just like the river that flows effortlessly around rocks, we need to learn to go around the obstacles in our lives, to stop pushing against what we can't change, and to move with the current instead. This is the essence of Wu Wei, to act in harmony with the natural flow of life, to trust the process, and to stop forcing outcomes. When we learn to stop resisting, we find that life becomes much easier to navigate. We learn to embrace the unexpected, to trust that every twist and turn has something valuable to offer, and to flow with life rather than fighting against it. Embracing change, the river of life. The river also teaches us the importance of embracing change. As the water flows, it is constantly changing, adapting, and moving. It never stays the same for long. Similarly, in life, we are constantly changing. Our circumstances, our relationships, and our goals are in constant flux. When we resist change, we create friction and stress. But when we learn to embrace change as a natural part of life, we begin to flow with it. Just like the river. Change is inevitable. And it can be both challenging and beautiful. When we accept that change is part of life's natural flow, we free ourselves from the fear and resistance that often accompany it. The river doesn't resist the changes it encounters, it flows with them, adjusting to new circumstances and moving forward. In the same way, when we embrace the changes in our lives, we allow ourselves to adapt and grow, becoming more resilient and more at peace with the world around us. Living with grace and ease. The ultimate lesson of the river metaphor is the power of grace and ease. When we flow with life, when we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of the world, we experience less friction and resistance. Life doesn't have to be a constant struggle. We don't have to force everything into place. Like the river, we can move with grace, flowing around obstacles and embracing the journey. When we practice Wu Wei, we learn that the best way to achieve our goals is not by pushing harder, but by allowing ourselves to flow naturally with the current. We find that success and fulfillment come when we stop forcing and start trusting the process. Just as the river carves out its own beautiful landscape, so too can we carve out our own path. One that is shaped by trust, surrender, and effortless action. The river's journey is not one of struggle, but of flow. It moves with purpose, yet without force. And as it moves, it creates a landscape full of beauty and meaning. In the same way, when we align ourselves with the natural flow of life, we create our own journey, one that is effortless, graceful, and filled with endless possibility. Practical example, preparing for an interview. Imagine you have a job interview tomorrow, one that could have a significant impact on your career. Most people, understandably, would begin to feel the pressure. The weight of expectations can be overwhelming. And suddenly, the task ahead feels much more daunting than it actually is. The natural reaction would be to overthink everything: what to wear, what to say, how to answer every possible question. You might find yourself trying to control how the interview will unfold, worrying about making the best impression, and focusing on every tiny detail. This anxiety can manifest in many ways. Perhaps you practice your answers too much, rehearsing them until they sound robotic. Or you stress over how the interviewer might perceive you. You could end up getting so caught up in the idea of impressing them that you forget the most crucial element of all, being yourself. But here's where the principles of Wu Wei come into play, transforming the entire experience. Instead of approaching the interview with a mindset focused on forcing success or trying to control every outcome, you can take a more relaxed and centered approach. Wu Wei, or the art of effortless action, teaches us that the key to handling such situations with ease is to align with the natural flow of events, rather than forcing them. Instead of diving into the pressure of needing to perform perfectly, take a step back. Trust in your qualifications, experience, and the preparation you've done. You've already put in the work, spent hours researching the company, rehearsing answers to common interview questions, and reflecting on how your skills align with the role. You've prepared for this moment. So trust that when the time comes, you will be able to respond naturally and confidently. Now, when you walk into the interview room, let go of the urge to impress. Yes, you want to do well. But remember that trying too hard can often work against you. Rather than forcing a connection or pushing for specific answers, focus on being authentic. Stay present in the moment and listen attentively to the interviewer's questions. This is where Wu Wei truly takes shape, by allowing yourself to react from a place of authenticity and self-assurance. rather than overthinking or trying to control the flow of the conversation. The beauty of Wu Wei is that it encourages you to be in the moment. To let the conversation unfold naturally. Let your answers emerge from your knowledge, your experiences, and your genuine perspective. Trust that your preparation and your skills will be enough. In doing so, you shift the focus from achieving a specific result to simply being yourself and engaging with the process. The more you relax into the flow of the interview, the more it will likely work in your favor. And if the conversation doesn't go exactly as planned, trust that this, too, is part of the process. Sometimes, letting go of the need to control every detail allows the best outcomes to materialize without the pressure. This scenario highlights the core of Wu Wei in action, allowing things to happen naturally, without forcing or controlling the outcome. By relinquishing the grip of expectation, you enable yourself to respond effortlessly, building a genuine connection with the interviewer. When we stop forcing ourselves into preconceived notions of what we should be, we create the space for our true selves to emerge, often resulting in a more positive and authentic experience. The power of letting go, Judo and life. In the martial art of Judo, there is a principle that perfectly mirrors the philosophy of Wu Wei, knowing when to act and when to let go. Judo is not about using brute strength or overpowering your opponent with sheer force. It is about recognizing the perfect moment to apply minimal force in the most effective way. This principle is crucial in both martial arts and in life itself. It teaches us that success is not always achieved through maximum effort, but by understanding the balance between action and stillness. The art of Judo relies on timing, precision, and technique rather than strength alone. A Judo practitioner learns that the key to success is not about pushing forward relentlessly, but about waiting for the right opportunity to strike. Much like the water flowing effortlessly around rocks, Judo practitioners learn to use their opponent's momentum against them, applying just the right amount of force at the exact moment when it's most effective. In Judo, the moment of victory often comes from a controlled, strategic move rather than a forceful attack. Life, much like Judo, often requires us to know when to push forward and when to ease off. It's not always about working harder or forcing progress. There are times when we must act decisively, but there are also times when waiting and observing the right moment can lead to more effective results. This principle applies to everything from personal relationships to professional endeavors. For example, in the workplace, we often feel the need to push ourselves harder in order to be noticed or to gain success. But there are moments when the right course of action is not to push harder, but to observe, wait for the right opportunity, and then take action when the conditions are right. Whether it's waiting for the perfect time to present an idea in a meeting or choosing the right moment to take on a new project, the ability to time your actions is crucial. Just like in Judo, in life, there are moments when waiting is the most effective action. There are times when it is better to step back, reassess, and allow the natural flow of circumstances to reveal the best course of action. Forcefully pushing forward can sometimes lead to missed opportunities or unintended consequences. But by practicing patience, we can position ourselves to act at the perfect moment, when our actions will have the most significant impact. This is where the concept of Wu Wei intertwines with Judo, understanding when to exert force and when to relax and let go. In life, there are moments that require decisive action, but it's equally important to recognize when doing nothing, or allowing things to unfold, is the wisest approach. The art of Wu Wei is about creating space for life to happen, and then stepping in when the moment calls for it. This balance between action and inaction is what makes the practice of Judo, and life itself, so profound. The principle of least effort. In Judo, Practitioners often speak about the principle of least effort, which is a key concept that aligns perfectly with Wu Wei. This principle teaches that the most effective actions are often those that require the least physical exertion. The idea is to maximize efficiency while minimizing unnecessary strain. Instead of relying on brute strength, Judo practitioners use their knowledge of timing, technique, and leverage to overcome their opponents. In life, we often find ourselves striving to exert as much effort as possible, believing that only through hard work will we achieve success. But the principle of least effort teaches us that success is not about how much we push, but about how wisely we approach challenges. By learning to take the path of least resistance, we can achieve more with less effort, reducing unnecessary stress and struggle. This principle applies not just in martial arts but in every aspect of our lives. Think of a situation where you've tried to force a solution to a problem, only to find that the more you pushed, the harder it became. On the other hand, when you take a step back, trust the process, and allow the situation to unfold naturally, the solution often comes to you with far less effort. The principle of least effort is about learning to trust in the flow of life and knowing that sometimes the best course of action is to let things happen rather than forcing them into being. Life lessons from Judo and Wu Wei. The beauty of Judo and Wu Wei lies in their shared understanding of the balance between effort and ease. Both teach us that life does not need to be a constant battle of pushing and forcing our way through obstacles. Instead, success often comes when we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of life, waiting for the right moment to act and applying just enough effort to achieve our goals. In the same way that a judo practitioner waits for their opponent to make the first move, we too must learn to wait for the right opportunities to present themselves. By stepping back and allowing the flow of life to guide us, we create space for the best outcomes to emerge. The key is knowing when to step in and when to step back, when to exert force and when to let go. In relationships, in business, and in personal growth, we can apply the wisdom of Judo and Wu Wei to achieve more with less effort. Rather than forcing outcomes or striving relentlessly, we can learn to trust in the process and embrace the natural flow of life. By doing so, we not only reduce stress and frustration but also create more meaningful and fulfilling experiences. Ultimately, the principles of Wu Wei and Judo are about understanding that life is not a series of battles to be won but a journey to be experienced. By embracing the flow of life, knowing when to act and when to wait, we can navigate our challenges with grace, wisdom, and ease. The power of letting go, of surrendering control and trusting the natural process, is one of the most profound lessons we can learn, not just in martial arts, but in every aspect of life. Letting go of control, trusting the process. One of the most transformative principles of the Taoist philosophy of Wu Wei is the art of letting go, specifically, letting go of the need to control. This concept is often misunderstood, with many assuming it means passivity or resignation. In truth, it's far from that. To let go of control doesn't mean to stop participating in life or to become complacent. It means trusting in the natural flow of life and surrendering our need to force every outcome. When we release our grip on trying to control every aspect of our lives, we open ourselves to infinite possibilities that we could never have anticipated through sheer effort alone. The truth is that there's only so much we can control. And when we constantly try to manipulate every situation or outcome, we tend to push ourselves further away from true peace and fulfillment. Take a moment to think back to times in your life when you let go of the need to control and allowed things to unfold naturally. Perhaps a job opportunity appeared when you least expected it. Or maybe a solution to a personal dilemma presented itself out of nowhere. These moments are the essence of Wu Wei, those times when life surprised you with its synchronicity and magic because you stopped trying to control the outcome. It's in these moments that we realize the universe is constantly unfolding around us, offering solutions and opportunities. But we must be open to receiving them. The process, when trusted, is often much more intelligent than our overactive minds give it credit for. We often try to force things to happen in life. Whether it's pushing a relationship to move faster or striving relentlessly for success in our careers. We believe that we must control everything to ensure the outcome we want. But what we often fail to see is that life itself has a rhythm. A flow that we can either resist or align with. By surrendering control, we align ourselves with this flow. And, as a result, we experience less friction and less struggle. One of the most profound realizations you can have in life is that many things are beyond your control. By accepting this reality, you stop fighting against the current. And you begin to notice how much smoother the ride becomes. Things that once seemed like obstacles or roadblocks start to feel like stepping stones. You may start to notice opportunities and solutions that you otherwise would have missed. When you trust in the process, the universe has a way of presenting the right opportunities at the right time. The power of surrendering control. To understand the power of letting go of control, consider the example of a surfer riding a wave. The surfer doesn't control the wave, but rather rides it. They don't try to push the wave into the shape they want it to be, they align with it, allowing the energy of the wave to carry them forward. This process is not passive, it requires skill, timing, and intuition. But the key point is that the surfer surrenders their attempt to control the wave. They trust the ocean and its rhythms. And by doing so, they are able to ride with it effortlessly. In life, we are often like the surfer. We cannot control everything, our relationships, our careers, the choices others make. There are too many variables at play. And trying to control them all only leads to frustration and exhaustion. However, when we let go of that need to control, we find that life begins to flow with us instead of against us. It doesn't mean we stop trying or that we abandon our goals, rather. We release the obsession with outcomes and instead focus on doing what we can in the present moment. The reality of letting go is that it brings us a sense of freedom. When we stop fighting against the natural course of events, we allow ourselves to experience life as it is, in its fullest expression. This doesn't mean that everything will always go the way we hope or plan. But it does mean that we can approach life with a sense of calm, knowing that we're not responsible for controlling every detail. The most powerful force we have is our ability to stay present, to trust, and to let go. Trusting in the universe, the flow of life. In Western culture, we are often taught to be in control, to plan for every possible outcome, and to make things happen through sheer effort. From a young age, we are told that we can create our future through hard work and determination. And while effort is essential, we sometimes forget that there are forces much larger than ourselves at play. We don't have control over all of life's circumstances, but we do have control over how we respond to them. By trusting the process, we allow ourselves to align with the greater flow of life and access a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from pushing and striving but from simply being. Trusting in the universe doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. Instead, it means that we do what we can, with the best of our ability, and then trust that the rest will fall into place. Trusting in the flow of life means surrendering the idea that we must micromanage every aspect of our lives. It is about finding the balance between action and acceptance, doing what is required without forcing, and allowing space for things to unfold naturally. The beauty of Wu Wei is that it teaches us that there is a time to act, and there is a time to wait. Sometimes the most effective action is not action at all, but simply a surrender to the natural process. By practicing patience and trust, we align ourselves with a wisdom that transcends our personal desires and ego-driven impulses. When you trust the process, you release the anxiety that comes with feeling responsible for every outcome. You allow yourself to flow with life, to ride the waves of change and uncertainty, instead of resisting them. And in doing so, you may find that what you desire comes to you effortlessly, often in ways that you never expected, but always in the way that was most beneficial to your growth. The essence of Wu Wei: surrender, trust, and flow. The lesson of Wu Wei is simple yet profound. Life is not about forcing things to happen, but about allowing them to unfold naturally. It is about surrendering our attachment to specific outcomes and trusting that the universe has a plan for us that is bigger and more expansive than anything we could have imagined on our own. By letting go of the need to control, we allow space for the unexpected and the unknown to enter our lives, which often leads to experiences that are richer and more fulfilling than anything we could have planned. When we stop trying to force life to be what we want it to be, we begin to see the beauty in what is already unfolding before us. We learn to trust that everything happens in its own time, and that our role is not to force things into being, but to stay aligned with the flow of life. When we stop fighting against the current, we discover that life's rhythm is actually much easier to follow than we ever realized. The flow of life is like a river that moves effortlessly, finding its way around obstacles without struggling. If we allow ourselves to flow with life, rather than fight against it, we become like the river, flexible, adaptable, and able to move through challenges with grace and ease. We trust that life is leading us in the direction that's best for us, even when we can't see the full picture. Surrendering control doesn't mean giving up on our goals or dreams. It means trusting that the universe has its own timeline, and that we don't need to force things into place. It means letting go of the pressure to control every detail and trusting that everything will unfold as it should. The key is to stay present, to take action when necessary, and to trust the process. The wisdom of Wu Wei in practice. Wu Wei is not a passive philosophy, it's an active one that requires us to be engaged in life, but without trying to control it. It's about being fully present and receptive to the flow of life, and learning when to act and when to step back. The power of Wu Wei lies in its simplicity, by letting go of our attachment to specific outcomes and trusting the natural course of events. We allow life to unfold with ease and grace. In every aspect of life, whether it's in our personal relationships, our work, or our health, the practice of Wu Wei can help us move through life with less stress and greater fulfillment. By aligning with the natural flow, we allow ourselves to live in harmony with the universe. We discover that the best way to achieve our goals is not through constant striving and effort, but through a balance of action and surrender. When we trust the process, surrender control, and allow ourselves to flow with life, we create the space for our desires to come to us in the most effortless and unexpected ways. The lesson of Wu Wei is that life is not something to be controlled or forced, but something to be experienced, embraced, and allowed to unfold naturally. Trust the process, surrender to the flow, and watch as life begins to surprise you with its beauty and grace. As we reach the end of this journey through the philosophy of Wu Wei, we come to an essential realization: the true art of living isn't about control, force, or relentless striving. It's about surrendering to the natural flow of life and trusting that the universe has a rhythm that will guide us to where we need to be. Just like the river that flows effortlessly around obstacles. When we stop fighting against life, we allow ourselves to move with grace, embracing both the calm and the storm. By embracing Wu Wei, we open ourselves to a life of less stress, less resistance, and greater fulfillment. The paradox of effortlessness teaches us that sometimes the most powerful action is to take a step back and let things unfold naturally. This doesn't mean giving up on our goals or abandoning our dreams, it means trusting that the right opportunities will come at the right time, without the need for constant forcing and struggling. As you reflect on the teachings of Wu Wei, remember that the path to peace and success isn't a matter of relentless effort, it's about finding the balance between action and stillness, between pushing forward and letting go. The wisdom of Wu Wei invites you to let go of the need for control. Trust the process, and allow life to unfold naturally. When you do this, you'll find that your goals come to you with more ease, and your life becomes a journey of fulfillment rather than frustration. If you found this video inspiring, I invite you to take the first step toward embracing the flow of life. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences with Wu Wei. Have you ever let go of control and trusted the process? I'd love to hear how it's impacted your life. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who could benefit from this philosophy, and subscribe to Charles' Mindful Nexus for more content that helps you align your life with the natural rhythms of the world. Remember, the true path to success and fulfillment is not about pushing harder, it's about trusting the flow. Let go, trust, and flow with life.